Brian Lehrer on WNYC, and now we'll end today's special Brian Lehrer Show edition of the weekend shows, visiting us on a Friday with our friends at Radiolab and Terrestrials. You know, for more than 2 decades, Radiolab has taken science out of the classroom and turned it into stories that surprise, move, and stick with you. Its kids series, Terrestrials, brings that same approach to young listeners. Lulu Miller co-hosts Radiolab and hosts Terrestrials, and she joins us now to take us behind the scenes and preview some upcoming episodes. Hey, Lulu.
Hello, Brian. It's great to be here.
So where did the idea for that spot come from? Were you involved with that, the WNYC a cappella terrestrial singers?
That was all Alan Gafinski, our song bud, our musical director over at Terrestrials, who just can turn any concept into song, including encouraging you to pledge and to support the beauty that is public radio. That is all his brainchild. But yeah.
I think it's not overstating it to say every Radiolab episode is a work of art. How do you decide what stories are worth that treatment?
I mean, it is an extensive pitch process. We gather the whole team, everyone, reporters, hosts, editors, executive assistants, interns, and we discuss the heck out of every pitch, and then we rate it. We have all kinds of qualities. We rate it on 5 qualities. Does this story take you on a journey? Does it challenge a belief? Is there real surprise? We want it to be fun. Does it include a voice from a historically excluded community? Does it, and would you want to spend 2 months working on it? And then we look at that, we talk about it, and we're always really trying to get to stories that will sort of push out the edge of what we think we know, but in a way that isn't just cerebral, in a way where it's really a person grappling with that, with understanding, with emotion. And I was thinking about this morning, I just came up with a new tagline. Can I try it out on you?
I'll sit for that.
Okay. So we're putting the emotion, the emo in epistemology. Okay, that got a flop. All right, we'll work on it. See,
emo
we'll pitch it.
In epistemology. Wait, do the letters EMO?
They do. EPISTEMOLOGY. Anyway, we're putting the emotion in how we understand what we know, and working really hard to find those stories that do it in a way that isn't boring, but is really sort of flesh and blood and heart.
Epistemology for kids. I'll play a clip from a recent episode of Terrestrials on aphids. If you're a fan of the Spice Girls, this melody might sound familiar.
Giving birth to an aphid baby. Reproduce. It's the night when one becomes 2. You clone yourself like you never needed help before. Gonna have some aphid babies. You make a baby bug, then you make some more. Gonna have some aphid babies. It's not meiosis, it's parthenogenesis.
Okay, I said aphids, it's aphids. A Spice Girls parody about cloning, if I heard that right?
Indeed, yeah. Parthenogenesis is an incredible thing that can happen in the natural world that I only really learned about recently, which is that there are these sort of all-female societies of various creatures, aphids, which are little bugs, but also lizards, sharks, snakes, scorpions, that can reproduce without a male. They just reproduce by cloning themselves. And so that becomes part of our episode. We learn that when we do this sort of deep dive on aphids, which we ended up doing an episode about that because Amy Ray from the Indigo Girls wrote into us and wanted to learn more about them. So she's in the episode, and her question led us to all these incredible discoveries about these creatures. I literally, Brian, had never even seen one or noticed one. And they end up revealing so much sort of incredible stuff about how the natural world works.
Hey, can you describe some of the process of putting together a Radiolab or Terrestrials episode? Maybe take the episode on aphids as an example, or just in general. I mean, with all that music, all that editing of conversation that sounds real and natural, but also is obviously highly produced and perfectly paced. How long does it take? Are there certain layers of creation that go into it in a certain order?
It can take about 2 months. mini documentary. And it always starts on the building phase from conversation. That was the real innovation, I think, that Jad Abumrad, who started Radiolab and who I learned from back in the day, he would take a natural conversation. You wouldn't script it. You do your first draft as someone just telling you a story, what they learned on their reporting journey. And then we use that as the backbone for how to structure the episode. In the way that conversation works, there's digression. Someone gets suddenly interested in some little detail. And we found that, when you start with two people actually talking, the piece moves in a way that's really different. And then from there, then we'll write the digression. We'll make it fully scored with music. And so it's kind of this whiplash between not constructed, truly loose, and then highly constructed. And that's sort of a guiding principle for both shows.
And I think you really pulled back the curtain in an interesting way on how on the origin of some of these things. Because to my ear, a lot of the episodes open with just, you and Latif or some two people kind of just talking and kicking around an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's truly where it starts. We try to always bring actual authenticity. One of us doesn't necessarily know anything about the piece, to just see what actually tickles someone's conversation and their curiosity. And it might not be at all what the reporter thought you would ask, but then you answer that, or you show the limits of what you know, and then you go report it out. And I don't know, in a highly controlled world that we all live in, where we're editing our little tagline for social media. Obviously, Radiolab is edited, but we're always trying to harness the real moments of humans being together, whether they're awkward or slightly bristling or ineloquent. Like showing how people actually speak is really important for us.
Well, thanks for being on loan from the weekend.
Of course.
Lulu,
thanks for having me.
And
it's
the podcast world. I just have to read you this one text that came in. It said, I hope you'll have enough time to let Lulu Miller know that her book, Why Fish Don't Exist, has fans out here.
Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot.
10 seconds. Why don't fish exist?
Oh, man. Okay, they are a gerrymandered category. It would be like saying we are related to fish or cows are related to fish. It's just something that looks to our eye like they're related, but if you actually go look at how they're related evolutionarily, they aren't. And so that, I think, it reminds me to have questions about all categories we make and see if they're about truth or comfort.
Lulu, thanks. So much fun.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good one.
Up.
Okay.
You too.